Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is Monday, April 12th, 2021, and this is the Daily Medicine Transmission. We are post-Aries new moon. We're not even 12 hours away from that new moon. Oh my gosh. Wow, the potency is so palpable. It's quite remarkable. So we're going to talk about the energy today, because for as potent and fiery as this new moon is and how much activation is happening, it's been, again, it's just remarkable how much is happening on the inner realms right now. It's really important that we are, in fact, exercising some patience. And the moon will move into Taurus today, 1:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that means that the moon in her exaltation in Taurus, meaning she has power here, she finds it familiar territory that she's comfortable in Taurus, embedded into the soil, into a form and a structure very similar to the Cancer archetype, where there is a vessel or some manner of holding this emotional energy, and we will be supported, at least on a personal and emotional level, to exercise some patience. The intuitive messages this morning are just quite, everything about today is just incredible. And, but it's also very, very potent, and it's important that we allow so much of what's been activating to integrate, to, make sure that we are not giving away too much. And I have a personal story to share about that. We're going to go into the chart and just look a little bit at what the moon is doing today. She's going to meet Venus and square Pluto, just where Venus had squared, was in a square to Pluto last night as well. And we are being, challenged to embody transformation as an opportunity to use our imagination and to regain something that maybe we have lost or did not take full advantage of in a different time. And so when the moon comes around and meets Venus, then it becomes a much more intuitive experience. And, Venus is about our relationships. It's about who and what we value. And we're going to see in the intuitive messages today, the relationships we have and the ability to transform within them, to deepen our intuition and our emotional and feeling-based landscape about those relationships, as, again, a challenge to the transformation that Pluto always represents as it transits through the sky. And so I invite you to check out the new moon report and the report on the Sirian starseed activation that went along with it. The activations, the hits keep on coming, that's for sure. I know for me personally, it's a consistent, it's still a very consistent pattern. About 3 to 5 a.m., there's just no sleep, right? It's very fitful, it's very restless, and usually for me, that is an indication that either right before or right after I'm going to have some measure of contact. And in fact, that is what happened. And so it's just so much activation and so much modulation within us. And it is very much within us. This new moon was about the inner fulfillment that we hold, and the potency of our ability to create and to actualize our own experience. And as we move through this entire cycle, we're going to have plenty of opportunities to address that. And substantiation is also going to be a big part of that. So I would recommend that you check out the new moon report. It's on YouTube and on BitChute. It is already uploaded for your perusal if you so desire. And I just want to take an opportunity to welcome back my subscribers to these channels. You are truly the lifeblood of these channels, and I truly appreciate your presence here. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Remember that interacting with this content through subscriptions, through liking, sharing, commenting, it all helps, and it all makes an impact for independent content creators like myself. So I invite you, if you have not already subscribed, you can do so. Also in the description box below is a link to my Subscribe Star page as well for $3 a month now. All of the astrology is going to be exclusive to those subscribers. So you can go there, and this is weekly reports. This is the full moon report. This is these are going to be special reports of events, eclipses, the equinox and solstices, any other special events will be available exclusively to those Subscribe Star patrons. So you can follow that link and set it up. It's only $3 a month, and it really supports the astrology work, which is very time consuming and takes a lot of education and study and actual work to be to really get down and master. The daily medicine, of course, though, is always going to be my offering to those who feel called to join us here. And one more thing I want to just draw attention to: the imagery for today's transmission. The thumbnail image for this video is actually the personal photography by Shutter Me Short Photography, and is also responsible for the graphic design of Catalyst Energies as well. So I just want to draw attention to her work, and I will link in the description box below as well to her social media platforms. So if you're interested in photography, professional photography, graphic design, she designed, she was the designer for the webpage for Catalyst Energy. She designed all of the graphics work for Catalyst Energy, and her photography is excellent. So I just want to give a shout out to Shutter Me Short Photography as well. So let's get right into it, shall we? So one thing I want to talk about that just came into my awareness just before this, actually, as I was, in the shower and getting dressed, and I found a tick on my body, which is not unusual for this area that I live in, and it's certainly not unusual for, as we're coming into the more warmer parts of the year. It does not it does not inspire too much confidence that we won't be having a very hot and humid summer here if there's ticks already around. And it was right here over my heart. So of course, what does the shaman do? The shaman looks up what the tick has in its spiritual meaning. And there are a couple different references here that I want to point out, because it does reflect back on this idea of being patient, right? And also to not allow our energy to be seeped out of us by parasites. And that is a real, I think that is a very real concern right now, especially with how activated and how intense things are right now. We have a stellium in Aries with the Sun and Mercury and Chiron and Venus. Black Moon Lilith has now moved into Taurus, so that has shifted a little bit. And of course, as the dwarf planet Eris is the goddess of chaos. She is also in Aries, and she's going to actually be in a conjunction with the Sun tomorrow as well. And so it's important that we are not allowing people to attach to us and take our potency and our energy away from us, because it's really strong right now, and we can attract those who stand to, draw that out of us. And and having it right. Oh, it's so sore. Pulled that little right out. It's so sore, but it's right over my heart space, and it seemed fairly new. It was not there last night or even first thing this morning when I got up, so I'm not sure where it came from, but it definitely holds a lot of meaning. The other thing too is that the tick is very patient, right? Is able to stay in that one spot and draw what it needs from its host as well. So the idea of patience definitely coming back around. But I think, and it is a warning in some ways. And there, as we move into the end of the Aries archetype, there are especially in the sextile to Jupiter, to make sure that we are not, it is a warning not to try to hold on to more than we can, it's a warning to not let go of more, to not allow ourselves to be siphoned, right? And the sextile, let's just look at the chart actually, because this will make much more sense as we go through it. And this is one of the ways that, you get messages, especially the animals, any kind of animal, any kind of natural phenomenon. I talked about the earthworm in the new moon report because we had the first real rain where I'm at yesterday, the first real spring rain. And last night, the thunder shook my house. It was so substantial. And all of the earthworms come out of the earth. And they do that because the water fills the channels that the earthworms usually live in and make. And so they're pushed up to the surface, and forced up to the surface as well, because they'll drown otherwise. And there's just so much imagery around this today. And just in general that I want to point out. But with the tick, it was a really clear, very clear message to protect our vital energy. Do not allow it to be siphoned by those who cannot, that need to siphon in order to exist and to protect ourselves. Be vigilant about it. And if we need to pull that out, then we can do that. And it might be a little sore, but know that we are in charge of our essence. And there's a lot of essence, right? Again, that Aries stellium. So let's look at the chart and just kind of get an idea of what we are looking at today. So this is the chart for today. I cast it right at 9:11 a.m. for the 12th. And so we do see Black Moon Lilith on here in Taurus. And you can see that the moon is meeting Venus right now. Here's that big old square to Pluto, giving us an opportunity to use our imagination to regain a lost opportunity of some sort. And the challenge is to transform through that as Pluto takes away and destroys all of the old ways. And something came up really strongly in the last day that somebody had posted on social media about basically the fall of the guru, right? The guru and the archetype of the guru. And that certainly had its place at one point. But these pathways that through ascension that have been the way for so long are in fact being disintegrated. They're being destroyed by Pluto in order to make space for something new to come in. And this is really standing out to me that we are now going to embody the inner guru. And this Aries energy and this new moon especially is really about activating that inner guru, that ability to bring ourselves to ascension, to hold the space for our own enlightenment rather than externalizing it or giving our power away, right? Allowing our essence to be siphoned. Because for as much as the guru is meant to provide that role and that space for the awakening of the student or the disciple, that they are still only human, right? And a lot of, and what ends up happening almost inevitably, there's so few instances where this is not the case, is that ego consciousness of that individual that's labeled as guru gets in the way, and we begin to be siphoned. Our energy is siphoned through the attention and the adoration that we give to these gurus, and they did have their place. I'm not suggesting that there aren't benefits and there haven't been beautiful relationships as a result. But the guru is really just meant to provide a mirror and to stimulate the awakening. And sometimes that happens through ways that we don't necessarily anticipate or think are very spiritual. So the inner guru is really what's coming about. And today's message, especially because the moon is going to be moving into Taurus today, it's going to be meeting Uranus tomorrow, the patience to allow these processes to unfold naturally. When you are gestating a new life, right, you have to allow that process to unfold naturally. You have to let nature run its course. And this is a big part of this energy too, because the potential here is that we, with all of this Aries energy right here, is to just like be the spark. And there will be a spark, believe me. The intuitive message will show that our awareness and our conscious attention and focus is on the splitting apart that comes from the bolt of lightning, which is not a new image, at least in these transmissions. It seems to be pretty consistent, but we have to allow that to happen and then the after effect to unfold naturally. And lightning is a natural process. It is a natural process of homeostasis. The atmosphere is unbalanced in terms of its charged particles, and the lightning is a natural form of electricity, and electricity really is just the movement of electrons in order to balance the charge within matter, basically. And our atmosphere is made of gas, and that is technically matter. So there is a lot of potential here for the release of energy and the balance and the homeostasis that's going to come very quickly. But this is going to allow something to enter our lives. I mean, Eris is so involved in this process right now and keeps being activated either by Venus or soon by the sun and by the moon right now, and it'll be activated by Mercury soon enough. And I talked about this actually in the new moon report for this whole lunar cycle. So again, there's a lot more of the long term in that report. But for today, we are finishing up this Aries moon placement and coming into Taurus, which will allow us to embody some patience and to really ground into the natural environment. And this will also keep us from having our essence being siphoned, and also allowing us to the process to naturally unfold all of the chemical reactions that happen in the surface. The encapsulation of the seed is what Aries is, and then it's planted in Taurus. So we've taken this new moon energy with our moon in Aries, and we're going to come into Taurus, and that activation is going to find the medium in which it's going to grow. And it's certainly going to be chaotic, and especially when the moon meets Uranus tomorrow, as we see, but it's not going to. It's still creating a space for something new to grow. And the challenge with Venus and the moon in squaring Pluto is the transformation that is within that destruction and that disruption. So the other thing I want to talk about too real quick is that asteroid Juno is stationing retrograde today in Sagittarius, which means that she's going to now go back towards the south node, and is so close to the galactic center right now, within a degree or two, and is now moving retrograde. So we are going back over this territory of the alchemy of relationships and our commitment to them and what that means. And so we're going to have some opportunity to go back over our contractual agreements. And when it comes to the alchemy of relationships, understanding and the big picture, we're going to have some opportunity to go back over that again over this retrograde period. So let's, without further ado, let's look at the reading for today, because it is so interesting, as it always is. And I hope everybody's doing well, had a great new moon. Let me know in the comments how you're doing. How's this new moon treating you right now? What's going on for you? And what intentions have you set for this lunar cycle that is about the inner fulfillment and the potency that we all hold within to be our own guru, right? And to actualize our own self and our own experience. So some different things came out, as we'll see today. A couple extra guidance points here for our energetic core and root. Some regular players, the honeybee, compassion and forgiveness, being able to emotionally connect to the collective, that Pisces energy, still very much here. The seagull, this was in Friday's transmission, the time for deep emotional healing, where we have the Muse as our energetic core. And look at this, the Knight of Discs is the causal factor. If we remember on Friday, this was the heart of it. The stagnancy, right? The grasping of something, with it reversed like that, There's some stubbornness and some dullness and stagnation and just really having a hard time putting that fire into cultivating something. Well, this is the causal energy now, and we're facing here at the heart of it the Prince of Cups. We're going to be the combination of spirit and soul now that is at the heart of everything. And as you see, we're going to come into a position of the Hanged Man, okay? The the devotion and the surrender to the into the whole process. So let's look at this one by one and get real specific. Oh, come back. Okay. So the Knight of Discs, as we see, the Lord of the Lord of fertile and wild lands. So this is reversed, and we definitely we're feeling this at the heart of the moment last week, and now it is literally in the past. It is something that we have already dealt with and felt, and is the causal factor coming into the moment of not feeling very much like we are cultivating anything. We have having a blockage in some ways, or grasping at something coming into this moment. But now, what we are, after this new moon has passed, we are the Prince of Cups, right? This is the Prince of the Chariot of the Waters, okay? You can see this individual is riding some sort of bird or winged creature, so there's that air quality of transcendence and mind and spirit, right? The spirit moves freely like the air. But look, this animal, this bird, is diving into the water. The prince himself is holding a bucket. It has a snake in it. There's that serpent energy, that serpent medicine. Also has another bird atop his helmet. There's all this wind and clouds behind him, and there's ripples on the water too. We are going down in right now. This is the heart of the matter emotionally, going down in to these spaces. So the prince as us, and the Knight of Discs as us, this is about being clever, open-minded, the combo, as I said, of spirit and soul, our ability to wrap our minds around this deep dive into our emotions. And there's a tendency to be kind of introverted here. And this is where, again, the patience and making sure that we are mindful of our energy and where it's going, and if it's being siphoned or if we're taking care of it. In the end, we will choose fairly what to accept, but it will take some consideration and this analytical aspect that the mind represents. So there's a lot of compassion here and warmth and artistic intentions, but really we're finding ourselves now diving deeper and being curious about what's going on underneath the surface of our soul, and using the movement, the freedom of the spirit in order to go into these spaces. There's a fearlessness here. There's a curiosity more than anything. And that is, the prince does represent the air element in us, and curiosity and a willingness to have an open mind is really at the heart of today, especially when we've come from a place where we have been feeling really, we're struggling to feel like anything is manifesting, and we have all this fire behind us with all this Aries energy, and the night is, the fire element, but it seems like it's going nowhere, or that it's stuck in some way. And so now we're realizing, see, the night is fire and earth. We are now doing with air and water, right? So this is a totally different perspective of how we are addressing the world. All right, so let's look at the Muse. This is our energetic core. This is inspiration. And at the core of us, we are inspired artistically, spiritually. The Muse is something that comes from the 12th house and Pisces archetype. This is a period where our resources are heightened, and we're getting a lot of energy for whatever we're trying to manifest. And this is where we are at at the core of who we are. The energetic core is being inspired from a place that is outside of us seemingly, right? But it's really within us, because everything is everything else. And the transcendent experience does seem at first to be outside of us, but that's because it's not our ego that is the transcendent experience. But if we are able to tap into this space of inspiration and be inspired on a mystical and artistic level, moving up through the heart here of this combination of spirit and soul, and this open-mindedness and these artistic creative intentions that the Prince of Cups really represents. And then it comes up into our conscious awareness of the lightning bolt. So there's been certainly some things that could showing up in our life like this. Of course, this is the splitting apart, and it's very destructive, right? The lightning bolt is very destructive. It happens in a flash. Like I said, there was thunder that shook my house last night. There are volcanoes in the Caribbean that are just wreaking havoc on the people that are living on those islands. There was an explosion 2 nights ago, not far away from my house. That was most likely, unfortunately, a meth lab that just exploded. Thankfully, nobody died. So there are so many ways that this could be experienced, but as we get inspired, as we're rooting into our inspiration, and we have this open-mindedness to dive into our emotional self, our awareness is now, how it is expressed in our conscious awareness really is this splitting apart and this really drastic homeostasis in a natural way. Again, the lightning bolt is 2 degrees of Taurus, which the moon will run across at some point today. So we see it as this disruptive, destructive thing. But really, if we're rooted in the inspiration and this curiousness to go deeper into the soul, it will seem, and our awareness, it'll be like this, but we are, it's really an opportunity to be inspired and to transform, right? Where the moon meets Venus and then is in a square to Pluto, the challenge to embody the transformation that's being offered by Pluto in Capricorn. And where this is headed here, the Hanged Man, number 12. This is, it's interesting, in the transmission on Friday, number 12 was the scribe, and that was part of our guidance and part of our support that was being offered. And so now we are going to find ourselves coming into, a cause and effect, this being the effect that we really will have to surrender to this experience as transcendent. And there's a metamorphosis here through this experience and a turning point. There will be a turning point. But what this is showing is that we are rooted in the potential to be inspired and open and curious about the emotional aspect, going deeper into these spaces, as opposed to trying to initiate some sort of material growth, maybe ahead of what it's supposed to be, right? The night of discs, feeling very frustrated and grasping at something because it feels like it's not happening fast enough. Well, this is much more about our spiritual awakening and our spiritual hygiene, our energetic hygiene as well, and being inspired by something outside of our own ego mind. And where this is leading, we are going to have to surrender to this lightning bolt, whatever it means to us. This metamorphosis, this turning point is where we are headed here. And so there's an acceptance of what? Fate, which is just a cause and effect relationship. And overcoming what? Our ego. That's also part of the Hanged Man. So expect that through the course of today, we are going to be led to this place where we will have to surrender ourselves to the flow, surrender ourselves to the transcendent plan, to the divine plan, whatever that is, to us. And there's a lot of support here for this cause. So number 1, the 8 of Roses is the Sangha, or the spiritual community. And along with this doesn't always happen, but we have the Oracle of Delphi, which is about our psychic awareness, perception, and interpretation of the messages coming through. And it's time. The inspiration will come not necessarily from just this, right? It's going to also come through the spiritual community where we feel we are aligned spiritually and emotionally, right? And being inspired by that. And if we are connected to this community, then we can allow that inspiration to really come through us by being in these communities. So also being open to new connections and relationships, being open to past life relationships, being open to relationships with elementals, with ancestral lineage, maybe star seed origins. Any of these things can really relate, but it seems to me that it's through the course of the inspiration and being very fine-tuned when it comes to our psychic and intuitive ability, where the moon is and what it represents. It's really going to come through our relationships. And this is a Venus type of energy as well, the spiritual community. And it's open to whoever, right? Not whoever, but you want to find the people that you resonate with. And when you are able to do that, this is where I think we really can be inspired. And it's important too. It's really important. This goes back to the tick imagery in terms of making sure that we are our own inner guru and that we are not giving our power away to communities that we think are our community or a spiritual community, but really are actually there for a different reason or to siphon from us, as opposed to we're all in this together. This is why having our psychic channel and interpretation of what we perceive to be on point. Also, we have the seagull here. Now is the time for deep emotional healing. That's the other aspect, is the healing the communities, healing the bifurcation. Now, this is not going to happen it's not going to happen today. But what it does say is that we are in a time and we can be inspired by this deep emotional healing, and the healing itself, the healing of the communities, can be the source of inspiration as well. And so really energetically at the root of us today is very much about this watery realm that the Prince of Cups is diving into and being curious about, into this transcendent realm, into the relationships that are represented in this spiritual community, and fine-tuning that discernment and our psychic channel that the Oracle of Delphi represents, right? This is really the whole water that the Prince of Cups is diving into, is this entire space of healing and connection and inspiration today. It's not necessary, and it's hard with all of this Aries energy, but we've activated it now with the new moon, right? We've activated it. We've come together. We're holding all of the potency and potential to bring those aspects together. We're holding it within us now, and we're going to allow it to grow naturally and steadily. And our core today is around the healing aspect on an emotional level. Now, of course, the honeybee keeps coming out. So compassion and forgiveness, again, is really meant to be our top priority in this situation, especially with the very violent splitting apart that the Eight of Forces represents. We have to be compassionate, be forgiving towards ourselves, for other people. Compassion is comes about in the recognition of all humans are capable of suffering. And so when we realize that, we can be compassionate. And compassion isn't, letting people get away with things. Compassion isn't rolling over and being abused or exploited. Compassion isn't just being nice. Compassion can be fierce. Compassion is the truth. And also recognizing that we suffer oftentimes when the truth is revealed to us. We suffer when we are standing in and being struck by lightning. There is a suffering in the splitting apart that causes grief and disappointment and pain. So those things can happen simultaneously without taking away the experience. You can still be compassionate towards the suffering of other people and of ourselves without taking away the learning opportunity and the inspiration that comes from that situation that is really stimulating our healing. And then the light of the world, I mean, whatever is coming about here in this splitting apart and this destructive element is really the knock of our higher self on the door. And it's important that we answer it and that we recognize it as well and see it for what it is. And the honeybee can allow us to be more graceful about that situation, to be more emotionally in tune to our higher self and be aware of the knocking that's coming. And a lot of times when we have major disruption in our lives, we don't see it as the light of the world knocking. We're distracted by all of the feelings and all of the response that we're having to the disruption and the destruction. But our ability to be curious and open-minded and go deep within and do the deep dive into the healing process and to be inspired by that is really going to, I think it'll help us answer the door and realize that what seemingly on the surface is a splitting apart and that we're feeling the suffering of it is really the knock of opportunity of our higher self coming to, stimulate our awakening in some way. And the Hanged Man, again, this is where we're headed here, which is, requires patience. It requires a devotion. It requires this ability to let go of everything and submerge ourselves into this transcendent experience. And the moon today is moving into Taurus will assist with this process if we allow ourselves to connect to it. So that really is the transmission for today, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, leave comments. If you want to share your experiences of your new moon activation, of course, I will be here tomorrow for the Daily Medicine transmission as we move through these incredible times. Like I said, the moon is going to meet Uranus tomorrow. So if we're not quite aware right this moment about this lightning bolt energy, it is certainly coming. And what is a great conductor of electricity but water? And so this is the Aquarian archetype, the water bearer. It is the water within us that conducts the power that moves through everything. So I hope everybody's doing well, taking good care of yourselves. I love you very much. Thank you so much for being here. And like I said, everything you need is in the description box below. If you want to reach out to book a reading, find your starseed origins, looking to be activated in some way, or need energetic support through Reiki or shamanic energy work, you can go to catalystenergies.net and book a service through there. Okay, guys, I love you. I'm just waiting to see if there's anything else, and I don't think there is. So exciting times we are in, and there's a lot of healing and a lot of inspiration that we can access right now. But ultimately, there's going to be a metamorphosis and a turning point that comes out of our curiosity to go within these emotional spaces. And it will require some compassion and forgiveness for ourselves and other people so that we can see that this bolt of lightning, for as destructive as it is really, the light of the world and the knocking of our higher self in our transformation. All right, guys, I think that's it. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.